Good evening. How everyone doing today? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma J. Sprays Divine. I'm here to give you a little short news on today. So I used to doing my videos at night. Okay, we're gonna start with immunity. Legal protection that exempt a person from liability, punishment, or legal action that will otherwise apply. Now, immunity protects the witness from having the prosecution use their statement or any evidence they discover from their statement against them. So insurrection, organization is usually violent act, a rebellion against establishment of government or governing authority of the nation, state, or other political titles by group or a citizen or such. Also, any act of engage in such a violence. So now Washington, former President Trump had launched his general election campaign, not merely rewriting the history, all the stuff that he been going through, what he brought to, is rewriting history, on January the 6th, capital attack, but position the violence state seized and its failed attempt to overturn the 2020 election, as a cornerstone of his bid, to return the White House. Now, threatening someone is a crime. Verbal threat may also be grounds for civil lawsuit, such as defamation or intention, infliction or emotional distress. Because sometimes you can verbal threat someone, and some people get emotional and distress, and they still can have a claim against that. Pacific law regarding verbal threat, on very country and state, familiarize yourself with the law in your jurisdiction. Sometimes the threat must be made, in a person or over the phone. In other cases, threat may be made through social media or other form of electronic communication are considered criminal. So all that verbal threat is still a crime. It's still a crime. And see, in Washington, you can get arrested for verbal threat. Now, see, in our state and in other states, you don't get arrested right offhand. You go through trials. But in Washington, you can get arrested from verbal threatening someone. And then we have the classified document, you know, um, unauthorized removal, intention, of classified document and material. Now whoever being an officer, employee, contractor, consultant of the United States, and be of his office, commune, employment position, contract become a process, you know, document information of the United States, knowing the removal such document or material without, you know, you cannot remove document without authorized, that being authorized, by authority, and with the intention of remaining such document or material or unauthorized, location should be fine, under this title, imprisonment for not more than 5 years or both. No, so the document, the removal of the document, without authority, it cannot be moved. It should not be moved. Unauthorized location, it can be at no location. That's a fine, imprisonment for more than 5 years. To say all that, went through all that, because Trump is trying to claim immunity. He's not going to claim immunity because he had to take responsibility, for all that stuff I just read. And then it's more. Former President Trump trying to use immunity to get off in all them charges against him as a former, President Trump. Insurrection in January 6th. Washington, you had launched your general election campaign, not merely to rewrite the history of January 6th, Capitol attack, but position the violence ceased and it failed to attempt to overturn the 2020 election, as a cornerstone of his bid to return to the White House. He's still saying he won the election when they had told him he had lost, but he still insists on he still insists on that he won. And all this January 6th was the cause of the election. Verbal threat. Verbal threat. He made so many threats. That's a crime. So unauthorized removal of classified document, it's a crime. That's why I just read all that stuff. It's a crime. It's a fine. And 5 years in prison. But we see he's still standing. He's still standing. So that's why I said you cannot claim immunity. Because all these things that you did unauthorized, you never had served dealt with any kind of responsibility. So I block immunity claim. You have to take responsibility of all these actions, that had never had took place. Classified document. You cannot remove classified document without being authorized. It was not supposed to be removed. You can't declassify the document. You can't show document to nobody. See, you have to take this responsibility. You cannot claim immunity. And then the threat. That's why I read all that. The threat, that's a crime. That's a crime. So, and there's more. I just didn't dig all the way into others. So take responsibility of your action. I blocked the immunity claim. Insurrection, the insurrection, because you thought you won for the election and Mr. President Benny won. And you didn't want to let that go. Two, verbal threat. You threat not one, not two, but multiple people. Even the judge you threat. And the daughter. And Miss Phyllis Willis. You can't go around threatening people. And you have not got charged for any of your action. Classified document. You have to be authorized to remove document. Just because you're a president, everybody have to have authorized. Have authority to move document. And so and there's more. But I didn't dig all the way into everything. But you have to take charge. You have to take responsibility of what you did. Because we're going to have a next president going to get in seat. And all this stuff that you getting away with, they're going to think they can do the same thing. That's why, I've been coming out with new rules. The other day I came out with the document. Had to be signed with security present. Because it had to be changes. Because with all that you went through, we don't want another president to get in seat and doing the same thing you doing, and we trying to correct him, and he gonna tell us we never correct you. So you have to pull yourself together by running for a president. And they say if you go to jail, you cannot be, you can still be president. No, if you go to jail, you have to pull down as being a president. and someone else to take seat. Because that's why you need to take responsibility of what you're doing. Because if other president come in your seat, they're gonna want to do the same thing you did, because you have been getting away with stuff because you never have been charged or been convicted for anything. Your allies have sat in jail for the lies they cover up for you. You have never served anything, and we have to save this democracy, because you is just doing too much, and we have to look at, you know, if you win, we have to look at the next president that will try to get in seat. All that you done, they're gonna want to do the same thing. Our democracy, we got to save that. We can't let that go in the ground. We can't let you do all these things. And then the next person feel like they have to do the same thing too. Well, we let him get away with it. I'm a president. I'm classify these documents. I'm a threat somebody. They want to do everything you doing because you trying to get off on your responsibility. So I block your immunity claim, and you take responsibility. And all these trials that you going through, it had to be done before election, because if not, it gonna lean on, in the middle of election. This had to be taken care of before, you get in seat. Because we have to see if you're going to be convicted or not. Because you convicted, you cannot be president. You cannot be president doing all this here, because the next person gonna want to be a president. We can't knock him if he have doing all this here, because we didn't let you got away. So we got to look at this democracy. We have to look at that, because if you constantly keep bringing this down, whatever you do, the next person gonna want to do it. So this have to stop right now. I blocked this immunity claim. You're not going to get off on this here. You have to take care of your responsibility. You can't go around and move documents. You can't go around and threaten people. All this came about because you thought you won. And you lost against Mr. President Bennett. And you don't want to let it go. And now this consequences that you have all of the cases that you claim, put on yourself. You can't blame nobody but yourself. Your allies serve time, serve responsibility, and you never did. And they cover up lies for you. So that's all they have on the immunity claim. So we're going to talk about the protection of voting rights requires state action. As legalism on voting rights, awaits action in Congress, and state continue to pass restriction, discrimination, voting policy in a code script federal voting. Now protect state, you must be set up and protect the right to vote. The fight for the right to vote is a story as long as American history. The courthouse had scraped, federal voting. Now law critical protection, leaving voters without the tools necessary to defend against the restriction law. Restore, voters' protection right. Now we need Congress to pass the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis and Voting Rights Advancement Act. Now protect American democracy. Federal legislature is not the only path to progress. Now state can also step up to protect the voting right. Now we got to keep on fighting for this, and I'm going to keep on fighting for this also. Because Martin Luther King, he fight for this here. So we going to make sure we have protection on our voting rights, for anybody, for nobody to be discriminating on vote. Now, request for the restore voting protection right. Restriction, discrimination. All races have legal right to vote. So we also federal law is protect against discrimination in voting. So here are two of the most important federal law for protecting voters against discrimination. The first one, law is a voting right act, a voting right act. ARAV. So make it legal. Make it legal to deny restriction of voters' rights. Because of the citizen race of color. So we're trying to get this legal for color or anybody in race, have the right to vote. We don't want no discrimination in voting. We want all to be able to vote, no matter what race she is. So the second law is American with disability. So we don't care if they're disability, long as they can talk, as long as they can write, because they have to do their own stuff. Anybody can roll them to the voter, long as they know how to read and write. We're not going to discriminate, disability. So Title 2 of that law requires state, local government to make sure that people with disability have full and equal chance to vote. Long as they're able to read and write, they can vote. But if they can't see and if they can't function and read, then that's a problem. Long as they can read and write, they can vote. Now we're gonna restore federal law, protect against discrimination all voters. Make sure all can vote. Long as their disability, long as they can read and write, they can vote. All race, all color, have the right to vote. So all disability have the right to vote. So we talk about immunity claim. Trump trying to claim immunity claim of his charges. They're trying to say, just because he is a president, he not supposed to get these claims. But if you pursue these claims, you have to take this responsibility because democracy. We have to depend on that. Because they're gonna go down. Because the next president gonna want to act a fool just like that. He did it. He got away with it, and they gonna want to do the same thing. So we got to control this here right now. We got to control all this nonsense. And they said, if you been arrested, you'll still be able to vote. I decline and block that. You go to jail, you cannot be the president. And so I blocked the immunity claim. And we talked about protecting the voting rights. For everybody to have the legal rights to vote, including disability. So that's all I have for you today. Y'all have a blessed and nice day, and I see y'all in the next video.